A man merely put his hands in his pockets during the assessment, and it was enough to make the continent's strongest mentor's heart pound. It's because I, a farmer everyone considers useless, somehow possess the special ability to summon undead creatures. Turns out, this is an era where everyone awakens special powers. 300 years ago, a cataclysm struck, and the demon race took advantage of the chaos to invade. Humanity was forced into a war with the demons that lasted for hundreds of years. That is, until a number of awakeners with powerful magic professions joined forces to build giant fortresses. Only then did they manage to halt the demons' advance, granting humanity a temporary peace. From that day forward, humanity officially entered the Age of Awakening. Everyone awakens their own unique profession when they come of age. The original 10 starting professions were sealed away, becoming what are known as legacy classes. In any given era, only one person can inherit each legacy class. And right now, it is the 250th awakening ceremony in the Cataclysm era. The rarer the class you awaken, the more powerful it's considered to be. The rarity is divided into several tiers: N rank, R rank, S rank, SR rank, and rank. At this moment, nearly everyone was hoping to be chosen by one of the 10 legacy classes. It's very likely a legacy class user will appear this year. I stroked my chin and began to think carefully. If that's the case, then my business should be booming this year. Just then, an awakened named Jay Fei awakened an S-rank class with a high magic value of 55 points. This immediately made many of the other awakeners green with envy, because generally, the average magic value doesn't even exceed 15 points. Just then, a voice asked if they needed to buy a tomato that could increase their magic power. That was me, in the middle of the crowd, working hard to peddle the produce I brought from home. I introduced myself, saying I was actually a doctor of spirit plants, and that the tomato in my hand was a superior variety that I had cultivated with great care. After eating it, you could, for a short period of time, increase your own magic value by 5%. And seeing as it's such a fine day today, I'll give you the friend price, just 5 gold coins. Oh, and if you have other needs, I also have satiety sweet potatoes that can keep you full for a whole day, and power potatoes that can temporarily boost your attack power by 10%. Hearing this, the crowd was in disbelief. Could there really be such magical plants in the world? Thanks to my energetic sales pitch, the full basket of goods I brought today was quickly sold out. I couldn't help but smile with satisfaction. Ever since I awakened as a farmer, I had felt completely hopeless. But at some point, the fruits and vegetables I grew started coming with beneficial buffs. So every year around this time, I can make a killing. I'm not sure if it's because my old man awakened. But then again, that would be pretty normal. After all, Mom is just a run-of-the-mill herbalist. So it's not that big of a deal that I'm a farmer. Besides, the farmer class is the backbone of all the life skill classes. I don't have to step onto a dangerous battlefield, so I won't end up like my old man and get myself killed so easily. But as I was walking home, I noticed that the once clear, blue sky had suddenly become dark and overcast. I looked at the awakened ones in front of me, confused. What's going on? Don't tell me the fortress walls have been breached by the demons? Just then, a giant demonic claw appeared in the sky and lunged straight for one of the awakeners. My heart froze in sheer terror, because according to the message that awakened one was reporting to headquarters, it seems He Xiao, the necromancer from the 10 legacy job holders, has turned traitor. And he's even planning to gift his unique job legacy to the demon race. Just then, He Xiao's massive hand suddenly clamped down on my body. You all should have seen it clearly, right? The job holder who died was the famous Dean Yu Yi. And because his death was so pitiful, he decided to use me to complete the ritual. I was instantly filled with despair. This guy's magical power is terrifying. I couldn't break free in the slightest. I forced myself to calm down, to think hard if there was any other way to drive this guy away. Suddenly, an idea struck me, and I used my job's derivative skill, summon farming tool. I grabbed the pickaxe and fiercely slammed it against He Xiao's arm. To everyone's surprise, I, a simple life skills farmer, actually managed to injure a necromancer, one of the 10 legacy job holders. Seeing that reinforcements from the academy were about to arrive, He Xiao had no choice but to use the marking array of a magic array dancer. He was planning to use my body to escape the giant fortress. But what he didn't expect was that even though I was the lowest ranking life skills job holder, my natural talent was actually incredible. I could perfectly serve as his second vessel. This made me chuckle. You're not wrong, but if you think you can completely seize control of my body, you're going to have to try a lot harder. He Xiao, however, paid me no mind. So what if he is? He's one of the 10 legacy job holders in the entire world. Frankly, that's a height I could never hope to reach in my entire life. As I felt myself gradually losing control of my own body, I used my last shred of consciousness to activate the summon farming tool skill again. I then gripped the pickaxe and slowly plunged it into my own body. Even if we both die, I will not let a traitor like you leave this place alive. As wave after wave of demonic energy began to pour out from my body, my consciousness also began to fade away. Just as I was about to close my eyes, my chest suddenly lit up with a soft golden glow. This light spread rapidly, and soon, it had He Xiao's soul locked in a death grip. What followed was an emotionless, mechanical system voice. Congratulations, job holder Lin Feng, for receiving the legacy. Job, Necromancer's, recognition. I shot my eyes open and discovered I was still alive. What was even more absurd was that guy, He Xiao, seemed to have failed to take over my body. I quickly opened my job panel, and found that my original ordinary farmer job had now transformed into the unique variant job, Soul Farmer. Although my current level was reset to 1, my previous max level farmer stats were all retained. In other words, a level 1 Soul Farmer has the stats and skills of a max level farmer. Plus, my magical power, because of He Xiao fusing with me, has actually increased. I thought to myself, on the surface, it seems I have to level up all over again, but my actual stats can now break past their previous limits. My derivative skills also gained a new one, Summon Undead. I guess that's because that guy was a necromancer, huh? More importantly, my job tree has now actually forked. Besides the original farmer path, there's now a necromancer job path. So, in other words, that He Xiao guy must have been consumed by the backlash, his soul completely destroyed. But I can still feel that this power doesn't completely obey me yet. If I can't tame it soon, and make it entirely my own, not only will my original farmer class collapse and disappear, but my own consciousness will be devoured once that thing makes a comeback. So, I tentatively tried to use the power to summon the undead. I saw the gravel on the ground gradually turn to dust, and my first undead creature suddenly appeared. What I didn't expect was that on my very first try, I managed to summon 2 undead creatures consecutively, and one of them was the undead sage, Yu Yi. As for the other one, it was the undead berserker, He Xiao. Could it be that any living being that dies before my eyes can be summoned by me? After becoming undead, their levels were all reset, but their original abilities were retained. So, does that mean that these undead, just like me, can break through their original limits? Realizing this, I quickly cleaned up any traces I'd left here. After all, no one would believe that an ordinary farmer could kill 2 extraordinarily powerful class holders. So if I were to rashly expose myself now, I might bring some fatal disaster upon myself. The most urgent task at hand is to find an excellent training ground that can offer me protection. Soon, 7 days had passed. Through my observations these past few days, I found that the crops catalyzed by the new power have become a bit strange. You could even say they're incredibly bizarre. They will actively attack any living thing that passes by. Although if someone saw this kind of thing, they would most likely think it was a demonic invasion. But if I can control this power to cultivate crops, then maybe I can achieve what old Duo failed to successfully cultivate. Those special varieties. The kind that can directly enhance a class, high-value crops. But before that, I need to give my undead servants a suitable name. In that case, let's keep it simple and call them farm servants. After all, my system panel shows that my awakened class is called Spirit Manor Lord. So, as a Manor Lord, it's perfectly normal to have a few laborers. Later, I learned through a news broadcast a very important piece of information. Right now, to cope with the growing power of the demon race, starting this year, the Extraordinary Academy will be expanding its enrollment. All who pass the assessment will receive a greater share of the Academy's resources. Furthermore, they will be granted a private manor that can be used for planting. I stared at this news, lost in thought. At the moment, a piece of land with absolute privacy is what I need most. So, I must get into this Extraordinary Academy. The scene changes to the registration plaza of the Extraordinary Academy. After hearing the name of my class, the assessing official's expression clearly froze for a moment. He probably figured out what I was up to. Surely another non-combat class trying to bluff their way through. When he saw me release my class's aura on the spot, the assessing official looked even more disgusted. So it's a farmer class, the most useless of the useless. He told me to hurry up and get lost, and not to waste his time here. Hearing this, the crowd also began to laugh at me for overestimating my own abilities. Did he make up that name, Spirit Farm Lord? For a useless level 1 farmer to even dare come and apply to the Transcendent Academy? It's downright hilarious. I wasn't affected by their words. Spirit Manor Lord is actually a variant class. So I hope, Instructor Lee, you can give me a chance to prove myself. After all, the Extraordinary Academy's admission brochure clearly states that all class holders can take the exam. If you choose to turn me away, be careful, you might get reported. Hearing this, Instructor Lee could only grit his teeth and allow it. But don't get so smug just yet. He refused to believe that a useless farmer like me could actually pass this assessment. And before the assessment, Instructor Lee even gave me a special reminder. If I kowtowed and apologized to him now, even for a good for nothing, it's not too late. I calmly interrupted, thanks for the reminder. Then, I decisively stepped into the glowing portal. Afterwards, I took a can out of my bag. It was powdered carrot extract. It was time to let these demon horn rabbits experience the terror of industrialized farming. A moment later, I realized this method of waiting for the rabbits to come to me was still too slow, so, I signaled the two undead creatures beside me to round up all the demon horn rabbits lured nearby without being seen. 2.5 hours later, in the results inspection room, Instructor Lee treated all the candidates with equal disdain. What a bunch of useless trash, worse with every generation. If you didn't hunt more than 4, you can just go on home. Just wait patiently for next year's expanded enrollment. When it was finally my turn, Instructor Lee impatiently told me to hurry up and hand over my assessment results. And from the looks of you, don't tell me you didn't even collect a single demon horn? But the next moment, he was completely stunned. In total, there were about 500 demon horns. If you don't believe me, you can count them first. At the same time, a figure also appeared. He was none other than the Dean of the Extraordinary Academy. He stated that I had already passed the preliminary test. It's just that he felt I looked a lot like someone he knew. So he asked if I knew Professor Lin Xie. This immediately made me let out a deep sigh of relief. Professor Lin Xie is my father. Oh, so he's a friend of yours, Dean? Ah, so you're the son of an old friend. In that case, how about this, uncle, pull some strings for you. Just then, the instructor in charge of the second test gave a pointed cough, then signaled for the students who had passed the preliminary test to follow her to the assessment area for the second test. Meanwhile, at the Extraordinary Academy, in the investigation office of the Sunwheel branch, they were still swamped with the investigation of Dean Yu Yi and the necromancer Black Salt's disappearance. They speculated that Dean Yu Yi had accidentally discovered Black Salt's secret and was subsequently discovered and silenced while investigating. The two ended up killing each other. But in the shadows, a hidden mastermind witnessed the entire incident and, in the end, took Black Salt's legacy talent. So now, if they can just find out who inherited the powerful necromancer's legacy talent, they'll be able to find the truth of the matter. However, this speculation is just a conjecture based on logic. So, many people believe that this is a bit too far-fetched. As one of the 10 legacy professions, Black Salt couldn't have been killed so easily. So now, the higher-ups have issued a final order. Once Black Salt is found, kill on sight. Furthermore, if anyone is found using a necromancer's skills, they are also to be executed immediately, because it could be Black Salt in disguise. The scene returns to the mission hall for the second test at the Extraordinary Academy. The content of the second assessment is to clear the level 5 special dungeon outside the city, the Demon Horn Beast Lair. The entire assessment will last for 3 hours. Upon hearing this, everyone couldn't help but feel a shiver of dread. A level 5 special dungeon is still too difficult for novices who are only level 4 or 5. If there were no time limit, they might have a chance to wear down the boss. But fortunately, this test allows candidates to team up to clear it. However, the team size cannot exceed 5 people. As she finished speaking, there appeared before me an adorable, pink-haired girl. Her class is a level 7 mage, so she asked if she could team up with me. I fell into thought. A level 7 combat class definitely has the strength to clear the dungeon solo. If I were still just an ordinary farmer class, I would have happily accepted. But my abilities as a necromancer absolutely cannot be exposed. So, I shook my head and refused, saying that I prefer to go solo. When they heard my decision to clear the dungeon alone, a flicker of surprise crossed the examiner's face. She then asked to remind me one more time, and I thanked her for the heads up. The difficulty of this dungeon is not to be underestimated. But no matter how brave one is, they shouldn't risk their own life. Soon, I teleported to the demonic Horned Beast's lair. The normal monsters below level 5 inside the instance posed no threat to me, now that I was at level 6. With just those 2 undead creatures, I easily steamrolled through the initial stages. And after killing a few monsters, I cast the undead summoning skill again. Monster-type undead generally have low intelligence, but they're extremely aggressive, which makes them perfect for speed clearing. Plus, it conserves a great deal of my mana. As for the humanoid undead, they have comparatively higher intelligence and can even use the skills they possessed in life. So, from now on, I can leave the work of weeding and fertilizing the fields to them. In the blink of an eye, my level rose to 7. I marveled at the efficiency. It only took half an hour to reach the boss stage. Since it's a boss, that's just perfect. With that, I raised my hand and summoned all of my undead creatures. Hey Xiao, you engage it from the front and keep it occupied. Yu Yi, you need to focus on using your magic skills to weaken the boss's curse effects. As for the other units, focus your attacks on the boss's joints and eyes. Seeing the ever-improving coordination between the undead, I was secretly delighted. With these guys around, there's absolutely no need for me to lift a finger. I can just sit back and reap the rewards. With a ding, a system notification informed me that I had successfully leveled up to level 8. I found it strange. The reward for clearing the dungeon was pathetically small. Using it only increases stamina by 10 points, which is less of a bonus than what I get from my crops at home. Perhaps the only good thing was that the system actually gave me 2 sets of rewards. It's probably because I have a dual class. If dungeons can grant 2 sets of rewards at once, then there might be some room to maneuver with the crops I'm planting, too. Under everyone's gaze, I teleported directly out of the instance portal. Since I had come out in less than an hour, it was inevitable that some people would think I must have hidden inside the dungeon just to save face. And then waited for a chance to teleport out. After all, I looked so clean. Without the slightest trace of battle, I paid these guys no mind. I walked straight to the mission turn-in area. The assessment instructor's eyes widened in disbelief. He actually managed to clear the re-examination dungeon solo. However, there's still a final interview with the instructors. For now, you can go rest and wait for the other candidates to finish their assessment. Hearing this, I followed the directions and headed to the Academy's temporary lounge. Just then, 3 figures appeared and ordered me to stop. You must have gotten ridiculously lucky in that dungeon to have cleared it, right? So, if you know what's good for you, hand over the Demon Bear Gallbladder and the skill scroll. I was a bit confused. There are so many candidates clearing it solo. So why did you choose me? The 3 of them immediately figured that since I'd awakened the farmer class, my brain must be just as dull. You should know, the Demon Bear Gallbladder is an exclusive reward for clearing it solo. It's a great item that can add 10 points to your stamina. An item like this isn't something a mere farmer like you should have. I was speechless. 10 stamina points is considered a great item? They should know that every single watermelon I have at home adds at least 10 stamina points. With that thought, I took the Demon Bear Gallbladder right out of my backpack. Is this the trinket you were talking about? At the same time, a stunning figure appeared. Suddenly, she appeared and stood in front of me. It was the same mage who had invited me to team up, Ali. She sternly warned them that the Academy forbids private duels, asking, "Do you want to be disqualified from the exam?" But the 3 of them told Ali not to stick her nose in other people's business. With that, all 3 of them used their skills and charged forward. I thought to myself that a level 7 magic user shouldn't have any problem dealing with these small fries. So, I tossed the magic bear gallbladder in my hand to Ali. As a reward for your kindness, this is for you. It wasn't until I reached the temporary private lounge that I realized something very important. For some reason, the skill scrolls that dropped in the dungeon had no effect on me. Then it hit me. I think I missed a detail. I picked up a scroll and directly infused it with my class power. Ding! A system notification told me I had successfully learned a new skill, Special Cultivation. It allows you to consume mana and specific materials to cultivate and strengthen summoned creatures. There's a chance to raise a summon's level, quality, and even help it learn new skills. I chuckled. So that's it. These scrolls need to be infused with the mana of a dual class user to be activated. After I used the cultivation skill, Heishao and Yuye's levels smoothly rose to 8. The magic horned bear I just got shot straight up to level 9. As for the others, they were scattered between levels 5 and 7. Right now, the most urgent thing is to get into the Extraordinary Academy and start cultivating new crops. A moment later, I reappeared in the dense forest next to the lounge. I still didn't know what effect this cultivation skill would have on crops. At first, there didn't seem to be much of a change. But as time went on, not only could the 2 crops attack creatures that passed by, but they could also leave the soil and move around freely. Meanwhile, the official in charge of investigating the Heishao incident was heading this way. No doubt about it, I can sense the aura of a necromancer up ahead. And just as he brushed past me, he suddenly turned back for a look. Judging by your clothes, you must be a farmer. Have you seen any class users acting strangely around here? I deliberately furrowed my brow, pretending to think hard. Now that you mention it, I think there was someone like that. As I spoke, I raised my hand and pointed right at him. Wasn't it you? He understood immediately. Are you trying to insult my intelligence? But I knew exactly who he was. Tuka, the son of Duke Iron Lion himself. With that, he transformed into his lion man form. You lowly farmer, since you want it this way, you'll pay the price for your words. I said coldly, remember this. The farmer you look down on can easily defeat you with just one hand. The moment Tuka pounced, I decisively threw a handful of transparent powder. It was aconite from my fields that had been eroded by undead magic, gaining a paralyzing effect. Even in his lion man form, he couldn't avoid it. I covered my nose and said, I told you. The farmer you look down on can easily defeat you. So, from now on, remember to never look down on anyone. A moment later, I had the guy trussed up and tied securely to a tree with a rope. When I hurried to the academy's auditorium, I saw a familiar figure. Ali told me that the magic bear gallbladder was far too valuable, so she couldn't accept it. I shook my head, refusing. You should keep it. Consider it my thanks for saving me back in the forest. The final mentor interview and assessment was mostly just a formality. Candidates would introduce their class information and use that to choose a suitable mentor. First up was the top candidate, Shi Yan, a level 6 Earth-type warrior. His ability is to summon armor to fight alongside him, so naturally, his mentor is a level 44 Berserker, also of the Earth-type. The scene changes, and it's my turn to introduce my class information. My class is a level 8 Spirit Farmer. As soon as I said this, the mentors immediately had differing opinions. Some mentors saw my talent at a glance. To reach level 8 at this age meant that with careful cultivation, I would definitely become another great general in the fight against the demon race. But other mentors scoffed at the idea. The Extraordinary Academy exists to cultivate talent. A mere farmer, no matter how high the level, could never become that powerful. This was despite my excellent scores in both the initial and secondary tests. Seeing the lack of consensus, the Dean of Instruction proposed, since it has come to this, why don't we give this child a combat ability assessment? The assessment process was simple. I just had to last for 5 minutes against the test examiner. Although, under these circumstances, I would undoubtedly have to use my necromancer powers. But as long as I could envelop my undead summons with nature magic, I could completely conceal the necromantic aura on them. This scene immediately left everyone completely stunned. So, the spirit farmer really was a variant class. It could actually summon undead creatures, just like a necromancer. With the help of my undead creatures, I quickly lasted for 2 minutes against the test examiner. Seeing this, the examiner had initially thought that since mine was a life skill class, he had lowered the assessment standards a bit. But now, it seemed he had to get a little serious. Thinking this, he told me not to panic too much about what was coming next. He said he would do his best to compensate me for destroying my summons. With that, he raised his hand and used a berserker skill called Bloodlust. As the undead creature in front of him slowly crumbled, he could almost imagine my expression. Having your summon destroyed must feel terrible, right? In that case, you might as well just cry it out, because what he likes most are students who show their true feelings. But when the smoke cleared, I was still completely calm and composed. The test examiner, on the other hand, was swarmed before he could even react by undead creatures from all sides. He never expected that a guy like me would have so many summons. The Dean of Instruction spoke up at the right time. That's enough. Student Lin Feng has proven he has what it takes to be a student of the Extraordinary Academy. However, the nature-type mentors are currently on rotation at the battlefield and can't return to the academy for now. I replied helplessly, that's fine, as long as the cultivation resources are distributed normally. The dean stated that given my performance in the assessment, I could make one additional request to the academy. After thinking for a moment, I chose to ask for another piece of land. Since my class is a farmer, if I don't have much land, it wouldn't live up to the name. Seeing me be so decisive, the Dean of Instruction didn't say much more. He had originally thought I'd make an outrageous demand for something, like a precious item, such as a magic bear gallbladder. At the same time, my class information was sent to the principal's office. The principal looked at the report in his hands and thought that I had awakened a very interesting class. But aside from that, there was another very troublesome matter. Tuka, the nephew of Duke Iron Lion, was confirmed to have been killed by a necromancer not far from the auditorium. Therefore, it's highly likely that a necromancer has already infiltrated the academy. Following the map's directions, I quickly found my own private manor. The Extraordinary Academy is really stingy, only giving me a 1-year lease. But after a year, most students are sent to the demon battlefield anyway. So, when you think about it, it's understandable. Now, this entire 100 mu of land belongs to me alone. Now this is what you call being a farm owner. With that said, I waved my hand and summoned all of my undead creatures. With them around, I don't even need to clear the land myself. At night, I went to the greenhouse area as usual to check on the crop's growth. It seems that right now, only I can make these crops mutate. If my yield were a bit larger, humanity's strength would rise rapidly. At that point, the demon forces would surely be crushed. But the time isn't right just yet. I still need to plant some ordinary crops on the outside as a cover. 3 days later, Yu Yi and the others' experience with cultivating crops was almost catching up to mine. They possess a degree of consciousness, so they're just like AI. As long as they get enough training, they can handle a lot of work for me. As for the demonic type undead, they're even more exceptionally talented when it comes to planting. And during this time, I also made an interesting discovery. The mutation effect of the crops can also work on these undead creatures. So, in the time that followed, I began to systematically experiment and record the effects of various crops on the undead creatures. Then one day, on the outskirts of the manor, a figure appeared. He mused that when he was scouting before None of this was here. But a flimsy, paper-thin wall like this. He could slash right through it. Soon, he discovered that the nearly 100 Mew Manor was being guarded by only one person. This made him wonder, could this be a trap? He had come here because he sensed the undead aura within these crops. He was on a secret mission from the Duke. His core objective was to find a necromancer, He Xiao. This was all because of an agreement between He Xiao and the Duke. From the looks of the situation, this was very likely He Xiao's hiding place. It seems that Guy He Xiao, in order to obtain the demon's secret art of immortality, really did betray humanity after all. As soon as the sun rose, I walked out of the manor, yawning. The scene that followed made me pause for a moment. In just one night, some of the greenhouses had been destroyed, and right now, circling in the sky, was a black dragon. I wondered why the government's law enforcement officers would come here. Had they discovered something? The other party immediately stated their purpose. Their instruments had detected demonic energy here, so they hoped I would open the barrier and let them in for an inspection. I put on a confused expression. That's impossible. I just finished clearing this land a few days ago. How could there be demonic energy? Just then, a cold voice suddenly rang out. That guy Tuka was just killed by demons, and now a demonic aura appears here. And do you really need to be so meek when talking to a mere farmer? Hearing this, I didn't immediately show any anger. Instead, I explained, because of my lowly profession, I've always been looked down upon by others. That's why I wanted to find a quiet place to properly build my foundation. But who knew the other person would remain completely unmoved? Then, he gathered his strength, raising a fist, and smashed it violently towards me. In that instant, I quickly thought of a countermeasure. Because I'd invested so many points into my constitution over time, I didn't feel any pain at all. But, so as not to arouse suspicion, I had to look weaker first. With that thought, I let my body go with the force. And fell back hard. Using an innocent tone, I continued, as in, Official Law Enforcement Department, are you planning to beat a confession out of me just so you can close this case quickly? At the same time, his colleague behind him acted decisively, stopping his reckless behavior. Helu, that nasty temper of yours, it's about time you learn to control it. The magic flowing through this kid is clearly derived from nature. And the demon clan has always despised all things related to nature. The other man, however, slowly walked over and gently helped me up. He told me not to worry, saying that for situations like this, they would report it truthfully in their statement. After watching them leave, I made a decision. Right now, I still don't have enough power to protect myself. It looks like I can't always just focus on being a good farmer. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. At the Extraordinary Academy's training grounds for new students, everyone was buzzing with rumors. They'd heard that urgent military intelligence had come from the front lines. The demon clan had suddenly intensified their attacks. As a result, the third bulwark is now in a precarious situation. The instructor for the new students department directly confirmed this rumor. Not only that, but Extraordinary Academy had also received an order from the front that morning. They were to send a batch of fresh forces as reinforcements as soon as possible. Fengchuan City is the central city closest to the third bulwark. If the fortress is allowed to be breached by the demon clan, then it's only a matter of time before they take Fengchuan City. Therefore, the opening ceremony will now be changed to a pre-war combat assessment. I thought to myself, I'm just an ordinary farmer class. Surely I wouldn't be chosen to go to the front lines, right? With that in mind, during the assessment, I deliberately hid my true strength. Throughout the entire test, I only maintained a win rate of less than 50%. Then, just as I was pretending to be exhausted and about to go down for a rest, a voice suddenly asked me, with your current talent and potential, you are fully qualified to aim for a higher level. As long as you actively accumulate credits here and pass the final assessment, you can directly advance to the more prestigious Sunwheel Academy. There, you'll find better training resources and instructors. You'll even have the chance to obtain legendary grade exclusive weapons. And even extremely rare magical beast mounts. I slowly replied, thank you for the tip. But I'm not really interested in any of that. Comparatively, I'd much rather have a bigger plot of land to grow my plants. I want to cultivate more land, so that more people have land to farm, and so that anyone who wants to farm can do so whenever and wherever they please. My words made the other person think that I was truly an ambitious child. They thought my ideal was to completely repel the demon clan's invasion and reclaim all of humanity's territory. Soon, it was time for my final round of the combat assessment. And my opponent this time was someone I'd met not long ago, Ellie. According to my original plan, as long as I lost this round as well, I would successfully avoid being drafted to the front lines. Who would have thought the headmaster, who had come to watch, would suddenly speak up, saying that if I didn't start fighting with my full strength, he would take back the plot of land he had promised me. That meant I had to go all out. In this fight, this development left the instructor who had previously told me about Sunwheel Academy utterly stunned. Even that great lord, who has reached the terrifying level of 80 in nature magic, doesn't possess magical power as pure as what Lin Feng is displaying right now. And her control over the forces of nature was so effortless, it was as if it was a fundamental part of existence itself. So, if she had the chance, she hoped she could take me as her master. After the test ended, a strange girl suddenly asked me if I could guide her in her training. Because while I was fighting just now, she suddenly had an epiphany in her training that was simply mind-blowing. Originally, I was just going to turn down this girl named Vera. After all, I'm just a very ordinary life skill farmer. The only thing I know is how to properly cultivate a plot of land. And if I were to accidentally reveal the things growing in the field, things would become very troublesome. But for some reason, the principal, of all people, chose that exact moment to threaten me, leaning in to whisper in my ear. He whispered a long string of words, and after hearing them, I could only reluctantly bite the bullet and agree. But what I didn't know was, this girl named Vera was the very same instructor who had explained Sunwheel Academy to me. The scene shifts to the training wastelands west of the city. I realized that Vera could be said to treat these plants very seriously. It seemed she was genuinely stuck at a certain stage, and needed this to find some inspiration. But no matter what, I had to be careful at all times. Not to let her see the crops inside the greenhouse. The plants here were just the spiritual plants from the outer area. And yet, they were enough to leave Vera completely astonished. These crops were all being nourished and cultivated with pure, natural magic. Therefore, upon maturity, they would be imbued with extremely powerful attribute bonuses. At this point, she was becoming more and more curious about me. There was definitely still a secret hidden about me that nobody knew. Then, she tentatively asked me if all these crops were grown in the most ordinary soil, because if not, then some of the crops shouldn't be showing signs of withering. I slowly nodded, confirming that was indeed the case. Although I had considered using soil mixed with magical crystal powder, the price was simply too expensive. With my resources, I couldn't afford it at all. Hearing this, Vera continued, saying that the school actually has related regulations. Students of the academy can use core materials dropped in dungeons at the academy warehouse to exchange for designated items. For example, from the level 10 dungeon, Gloomwood, the final boss, the fallen kobold chieftain, drops a chieftain's fang, which can be exchanged for a bottle of Earth's Pulse. It's a very effective type of planting fertilizer. Following Vera's directions, I soon arrived at the entrance of the Gloomwood dungeon. And the moment I appeared, I was met with a wave of overwhelming ridicule. A mere level 8 freshman like me dares to challenge a level 10 dungeon alone? Does he think he's going in there to forage for wild vegetables? I paid them no mind and instead went straight to the dungeon instructor. I directly stated my request to enter the dungeon alone. Although with my current level, I couldn't directly select a solo run. The academy regulations state that as long as one is a student here, they are qualified to apply for entry. The dungeon instructor was originally going to ignore my words, but after seeing Vera behind me, he suddenly changed his mind. The rules are indeed as you say, but remember, you must act within your capabilities. The moment you find yourself outmatched, you must retreat immediately. As soon as I stepped into the dungeon, I slowly let out a yawn. It seems the boss of this dungeon is nothing special. At best, it's just a level 12 Shadow Fallen Kobold Chieftain. And under the devastating assault of the Shadow Legion, I quickly received a notification that the dungeon was cleared. While leveling up to level 9, I also obtained a piece of rare grade equipment, the Chieftain's Healing Tusk. It's just that my current level is too low to transform the fallen Shadow Kobold Chieftain into an undead summon. Although it seems like a bit of a shame, regardless, this trip's objective has been achieved. Over here, just a moment before I teleported out of the dungeon, the gatekeeper asked Vera if she really intended to exchange resources for me according to the original rules. After all, the situation on the front lines is critical right now. As it stands, all combat resources should be prioritized for the war front. Hearing this, Vera slowly shook her head. She gestured for him to relax. The things a guy like me needed were just some cheap, nature-type soil fertilizers. The academy still had plenty of that in stock. It was at that very moment that my figure slowly appeared at the dungeon's portal. Everyone was completely shocked when they saw the clear reward. It was a heroic spirit fragment, something that can strengthen one's soul origin and enhance class potential. With this guy's luck, how could he possibly get such a rare reward? Besides, how could a mere level 8 farmer clear the dungeon solo and also get a triple S clear rating? So, did he use some kind of forbidden item to achieve such an outstanding result? At this moment, even Vera looked a little surprised. She didn't expect me to clear it on my very first try. Seeing these guys looking so righteously indignant, I couldn't help but wonder to myself, did I somehow do something wrong again without realizing it? I really couldn't understand it, so I walked straight up to the supervising teacher. I stated that I was here to exchange for some resources as per the rules. Suddenly, another person from the crowd said he was willing to make a resource bet with me. It was essentially a dungeon speedrun competition between us, under the supervision of a teacher. We'd compete to see who could clear it faster. I thought for a moment this is really just a boring little trick. I wasn't interested in participating. Hearing this, the man in the bandana immediately threw in an extra condition. He would add a design schematic for the lamp of nature to the bet. Seeing this, Vera immediately came over to my side. She reminded me that this design for the lamp of nature was something I absolutely had to get my hands on, because it's an exclusive nature type, growable magic artifact, and a single design schematic. Provides only one chance to craft it. On top of that, its effect is to drastically shorten a crop's growth cycle without any side effects. So the lamp of nature could be said to be an extremely rare item. I thought to myself, no matter what, I absolutely cannot reveal my necromancer abilities. But with only one teacher supervising, it shouldn't be a problem to pull the wool over his eyes. With that in mind, I nodded and directly accepted the bandana-wearing man's bet. After re-entering the dungeon, I didn't hesitate for a moment, and summoned my few undead minions. The supervising teacher was stunned when he saw this. This little farmer squad of mine seems pretty impressive. The scene that followed completely confirmed his thoughts. My farmer squad began to rampage through, completely unopposed. In less than a minute, they had smoothly cleared the dungeon's initial stages. The supervising teacher couldn't help but wonder, could this be because of a special class? But after seeing me take down the final boss, he couldn't keep his composure any longer. He knew he had to report a student as talented as me to the school as soon as possible. And it wasn't until now that I realized that special nature type classes also had a certain degree of combat ability. Afterwards, with the supervising teacher's confirmation, I successfully claimed the resources from our bet. But in a place I couldn't see, the supervising teacher secretly handed a recording of my combat in the instance to Vera. In the days that followed, 0-Fen-31, I practically lived inside the academy's provided instances. Because of this, I became a familiar face to the instance proctor. One day, he reminded me that I had accumulated enough credits to apply for promotion to the upper academy. As everyone knows, the Extraordinary Academy is divided into an upper and lower academy. The lower academy's main purpose is to cultivate foundational talents, like the Storm Academy where I was currently enrolled. The Sunwheel Academy, on the other hand, is where the elite students from all the lower academies gather. Once you get into the Sunwheel Academy, the resources you can exchange for are a whole tier higher. Hearing this, I didn't waste a second. I went to the academy's mission hall, and after telling the staff there my intentions, I was given the promotion quest scroll. If I successfully complete the promotion, I'll be able to exchange for gold grade or higher resources and items. After leaving the mission hall, I appeared in an open area on the farm. Very few people ever pass through here, so it was the perfect place to test out the effects of the lamp of nature. And its power was truly unbelievable. On the very first use, it was able to make the crops grow to this extent so rapidly. After that, I teleported to the outskirts of the abandoned watchtower. Even though the promotion quest was a search and find type, I figured it was best to be cautious. Almost immediately, I noticed what looked like tracks from other people nearby. Then, as I looked up, I heard a few guys over by the watchtower muttering about how they had to grab the quest item before I got there, so I wouldn't be able to complete my promotion quest. As soon as he said that, one of them threw the quest item straight down. It just so happened to land exactly where I was standing. Looks like I really have these guys to thank for this. A mere 2.5 minutes later, I had gotten the details out of them about the person who was working against me. It turned out to be none other than Helu, the guy I'd had a run-in with not long ago. And at that very moment, Helu was planning to contact people from the Shadow Corrosion organization to come deal with me. Because from his point of view, I was definitely the one who secretly killed Tuka. Anyway, after turning in the quest scroll, I was successfully promoted to the Sunwheel Academy. But the consequence of that was, I could no longer enter instances solo. According to Academy regulations, in order to give lower Academy students enough resources and opportunities for promotion, all upper Academy students were forbidden from challenging level 10 or lower instances. It was at that exact moment that a squad suddenly asked me if I needed to run an instance. Apparently, their team was short one person to be able to enter. I figured that I did need more resources from instances, and this would also be a good chance to see what upper Academy instances were like. So, I thought, why not join these guys and see what's what? The objective for this instance was actually a gathering quest, to collect dried moonlit grass from deep in the forest. However, even though it was a simple gathering quest, there were still some shadow elves constantly patrolling the area near the moonlit grass. But what I didn't expect was for these guys to actually try to pull something on me inside the instance. Good thing I held something back before entering the instance. Before long, my Shadow Legion had grown in power once again. Then, just as I was about to teleport out of the dungeon, I discovered that the teleportation portal was sealed shut. Your regret of bygone days has taken effect at 200%. It cannot be opened again until this instance is cleared. Inside this dungeon, all my stats will be boosted by 200%. Seeing this, I had no choice but to follow the instructions and head to the core area of the dungeon. The next moment, a cold voice asked why I had set foot on this sacred ground. The system immediately notified me that I had successfully triggered the Shadow Woodland Dungeon's boss fight. During this phase, all non-undead and non-shadow type biological units will get a stacking corrosion effect every 3 seconds. All your undead beasts' energy. In other words, this means I can summon my undead legion without any restraint in this dungeon. Meanwhile, outside the dungeon, that regret of bygone days was actually a trick orchestrated by Haru. While it's true that it can boost all your stats, its real purpose is actually to seal the dungeon shut. Besides, with a boss of that caliber in there, even a 400% boost wouldn't be enough to win. Over on my end, I stood with my hands in my pockets, watching the scene unfold. I ended the boss fight with almost no effort at all. And surprisingly, the final reward for the dungeon was an item called a low magic embryo. After examining it for a moment, I still couldn't figure out where this thing came from. So, I had no choice but to store it in my dimensional ring for the time being. As for the dungeon boss, turning her into one of my undead would probably be very costly. But thinking about it, once converted, she'd at least be on the same level as Hei Xiao. After teleporting out of the dungeon, I gave my teacher the excuse I had already prepared. I said the team was attacked by a large number of night elves while we were gathering moonpetal grass. Then, I was unfortunately separated from the group and accidentally triggered the boss fight. In the end, it nearly cost me my life. But I managed to clear the dungeon and escape. To make my story more believable, I added that I could have teleported out of the dungeon directly. But for some reason, an item called Regret of Bygone Days appeared after I entered. As I spoke, I slowly turned my gaze towards Haru. Then I mentioned that since I had just entered the Sunwheel Academy, I had no idea about